A logo is the worst investment you can make, and here is why. I've been a brand strategist for over 15 years. I've built over hundreds of brands and helped over 100 plus founders. And the mistake I've made was telling them that they needed a logo. In case you don't know, a logo is a symbol, a mark that represents a brand. You've probably seen Apple's logo, Samsung, you name it, big companies, they always have a logo. A logo is used to differentiate your company. It's to show ownership of that company. If you haven't seen my video on branding before, I'll put it right here. A logo is basically a mark that differentiates you among your competition. Story time. When I just got out of art school, I studied graphic design. I tried to make the best logos possible, and specifically I was obsessed with negative space. Playing with negative space is actually a way to create different meaning within a logo, and I tried to use negative space in every single logo. I was obsessed, I tell you, obsessed with logos and the creation thereof. However, later in life I realized it's actually not important. Up until this point in my career, I had built 3 companies. Company number 1, I spent weeks creating the right and perfect logo for myself. If you're a designer, you know what I mean. Creating your own thing, your own logo, getting perfectionistic, it's never right. And if someone creates it for you, it's still not right. That's just how we are as designers. But I wasted so much time on creating a logo when I should not have. Why? 3 reasons for you not to get a logo. Reason number 1, you do not have a company. What do I mean with that? Not everyone who has a business has a business. There are a lot of entrepreneurs out there who have a company, so it's legally registered as an LLC or whatever, a company, but it's not generating any money. There's no cash flow. If there's no cash flow in your company, you basically do not have a business. If you have a gig every once in a while, you basically do not have a business. If you're sitting around 24/7 not knowing what to do, you have no company, you have no business. You can have the greatest logo, the best logo ever created by man. If the company is not bringing in any dollars, it's a waste of time. It's a waste of investment. So that is a very expensive investment to make. Even if you are a designer like me, like I was, and you created your own logo, like I said, I spent weeks on my logo. That was a very, very expensive investment for me to make. If you're having someone make your logo, it's gonna cost you X amount of dollars. That too is a very, very expensive investment to make. Summary, if you don't have a business, if you don't have money coming in your bank account on a regular basis, you have no company. And if you have no company, you do not need a logo. Reason number 2 not to get a logo. If you're not positioned, and remember what I said positioning was, I'll link the video up top. Positioning is how you're perceived in the minds of others. If you haven't sat down and actually intentionally thought about how you want others to perceive you, you have no foundation. And if you have no foundation, you cannot build on top of it. You cannot build a brand. You don't need a logo if you're not positioned. Reason number 3, and this is very important. If you're testing the waters, you do not need a logo. I've come across a lot of people who are just testing the water. They don't know if they're going back to their 9 to 5 or if they're gonna continue having a company. They don't know. They're just testing the waters. And they'll come to me and say, "Hey KJ, can you make a logo for me because I am doing this and that?" And I'll ask them, like, "How long have you been doing this?" "Oh yeah, I just started out a couple weeks." "Do you have clients?" "Oh no, not yet, but I'm thinking about this and that." Number 1, you don't have a company. But in that phase, those people are literally just testing. They're trying to see if having a company is something that they like. If you're testing waters, You don't need a logo. Like, really, you don't need a logo. I know every designer, everyone makes it seem like you do need one. They're biased because if you need a logo, that means they're getting paid. I'm here as senior brand strategist. I've done this over 15 years. I'm telling you, you don't need one. If you belong to any of those three categories that I just named, don't get a logo. Like, for real, do not get a logo. Then when do you need a logo? When you actually have a company, when money is coming in, when you are bigger, growing, and money is coming in on a regular basis, when you actually have a company, you have a business, then you need a logo. Then you can get a professional logo to separate you, differentiate you from your competition. When you're positioned, get a logo. So by the time you start making serious money, then you have already thought about positioning, and then you know what you're building, and then a designer can really help you create that perfect logo that represents what you're trying to build. And at that point, you're not testing waters. You've already tested it. You know this is something you want to do for the long run. And then, of course, you need a logo. I'm telling you, don't waste your money on logos if you don't need any. A logo is just a differentiator. Right now in my businesses, I've started 3 businesses and only one survived. And for all 3, I made a logo myself. I invested my time, invested my energy, and those 2 businesses, they're not here. And for my last business that I started, literally, I kid you not, and I'll put it up here, my logo is a picture of my face. I didn't spend any money. I didn't waste any time to create that logo. Literally just took a picture that I already made for a thumbnail. I put a yellow background to it, and that's my logo. And you can use your picture as a logo. Why? My identity, my face is what differentiates me from everyone else. So why not? Why can't I use my face as my logo? And I use it in everything, and I've never had any complaints. I've only had people say, whoa, what a unique idea to use your picture as a logo. I even use it on my invoices. So if you need a quick logo, just take a picture of yourself and use your face. There are a lot of people out there who think that they need a logo. There are a lot of people out there who are selling logos. Nothing wrong with that. You know, everyone is on their grind trying to earn their buck. But I'm speaking to you. This is the brand diary. I had to talk about this at some point. You don't need a logo if you don't have a business. The rule of thumb for you is this. If we are not making serious money with our business, we have no business in getting a logo. It's a terrible investment. There you have it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something from it. I hope I gave you value in the world of branding and strategy. I'm KJ. This is the Brand Diary, and I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.